Hey everybody, my name is Natalie Duncan-Emmons. I wanted to thank you for listening to this episode of The Morning Show. I'm the creator, the producer, and the host of the show. We want you to check out our website. It's themorningshowwithnatalie.com. You can go to that website. You can see all about our sponsors, all about the show. You can even listen to live episodes while they're going on right there from the website. Another way to listen to the show live is go to Live 365. You can download that app and just search for The Morning Show. It's right there. Super easy. We want you to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel if you will. That way you can keep up with what's going on The Morning Show. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. My name is Natalie Duncan-Emmons. You are listening to The Morning Show. It's been Day Win Celebration Week. You've met the artist, you've met some of the characters, but today we want you to know how it all got started and how it operates. And we're bringing it to you from the very top. It is my distinct honor to introduce to you this morning the president of Day Win Records, and he has been for a very long time, Mr. Ed Leonard. Welcome to The Morning Show, Mr. Leonard.
It's great to be with you, Natalie, and I think you captured it best when you said characters. That word.
Well, we love every single one of them, that's for sure. It's been fascinating this week to hear little sound bites and clips and to catch all of the different personalities, and we just feel like we've learned so much about Day Win.
Well, it's been a blessing to work to further the gospel of Jesus Christ in my career. And the way that we have done that is just surrounding ourselves with incredible creators, not just the artists who everybody knows, but the writers that are behind the songs, the musicians, the engineers, the producers, the orchestrators, everything that goes into making incredible music that talks about the love of Jesus for all of us and the grace that he provides us. And of course, salvation it's just a wonderful thing to be able to do. Who wouldn't love to do that? So
absolutely. We're fascinated by it, and we cannot wait to learn even more today. Now, Mr. Leonard is not only the president of Day Win Records, but he's the vice president of New Day Christian Distributors as well. He's an attorney and serves as general counsel for both companies. There's much, much more to be said about Ed Leonard's credentials and achievements, and we will do that in just a few moments. But first, hey, Ed, tell me exactly how many years you've been president at Day Win. I think I know, but I'm not for sure.
Well, I didn't start out in this role. I started out at Day Win Records, but it was a while before I became president. I started working with a woman by the name of Karen Pulley at Day Win Records when my mom made the decision to expand the label beyond basically the Cumberland Boys. And when she expanded that and needed more help, that's when I came down and joined the company. And it was a few years later, I can't even remember when it happened that I got that title. But it's a title in name only, because really the power behind Day Win, the passion, the investment is really comes out of the vision that my mom has for this, and her willingness to support artists and fund music and video and things like that. So,
and I want to talk about your mom. I was mentioning how long you've been apart, because you've been a part of Day Win for a very, very long time. And I didn't want to do that to emphasize your age, but rather your longevity and your faithfulness. And if we're honest, your dominance in this music industry, because you sure have it. Now, some listening may not know, but Mr. Leonard was literally born to do this. It all started with your mother, as you mentioned, Ed, and we'd love to hear it straight from you, just how she did it. Could you tell us a summary version of how your mom, Miss Dottie Leonard Miller, started with nothing and created what Day Win has become today?
Well, it's a great story. You know, my mom was a single mother of two kids in the 70s, and she was just looking for a way to feed those kids. And I appreciate that effort because I enjoyed the food that we had. But when I was probably maybe 14 when she started working for Calvary Records. So she had done a variety of different things leading up to that. You know, she sold Germac hair products to salons. She worked for a law firm. as a receptionist, and found a job as a receptionist at Calvary Records, which was the label that made the Hensons and the Freemans and the Telestials, kind of brought their music to the world. And she started as a receptionist and worked in some radio promotions. And then they decided they wanted her to call Christian bookstores and sell their music. And that is what she fell in love with. She would call stores, develop relationships with them, sell them the music. She stayed there for a little bit and then went to Windchime Records when they started that with a guy by the name of Ronnie Drake, who has he passed way too early, but he plays a role in the story of Daywind, and I'll share that in a second. So after her stint at Windchime, they basically decided, Windchime, that they did not want to call Christian retail anymore directly, but she had such a passion for it that she said, well, would you mind if I just did it on my own? And they were perfectly okay with that. And she went to her father and her brother and a family friend, and together they contributed $10,000. And in our garage, at the house we were living in here in Hendersonville, she started New Day Christian Distributors. Wow. With a single piece of sheet music, and then added on from that or to that, vinyl albums and cassettes. There were no CDs at the time, of a variety of different artists, from Jimmy Swaggart to Mike Adkins to people that you would see and hear on TBN and PTL at the time. Tammy Faye Baker records, all sorts of things. She would buy those records and then sell them on to the stores. Wow. All music from the very beginning. And then she started to add on some of the major label things like that were not in Southern Gospel, but rather, like Sparrow Records and Benson Records and Word Records. And she would sell those products as a distributor to the stores. So it was the voice of the independent artist and label that really started New Day. And it was just her. She would, take the order on the phone. She would type the order up on her typewriter. She would pull the order herself, pack it herself, and then ship it out through UPS when they would pull up in our driveway, probably illegally because we weren't a commercial business. It wasn't zone commercial at the time. But she did what she had to do, and sure. Then people would come along and help. Usually friends, she hired somebody to answer the phone or pull orders or just to help her along the way. But it stayed very small, just a few people until she moved it out of the house. She was able to do that and then moved it over here to where it is currently on Shibble Drive in Hendersonville, and then just, started adding on.
Don't go anywhere. We will be right back with the president of Daywind Records, Ed Leonard, with the rest of the story about Miss Dottie. Be right back after Southbound.
We know that in this life there always comes a time every one of us will find a fork in the road. You can go left and make things right, stand in the dark or walk in the light. Don't know about you, but I know I found my way home.
Okay, we are back with our guest, Mr. Ed Leonard. We're talking about Miss Dottie Leonard Miller's story and the creation of Daywin. Ed, when exactly did the Daywin title come along?
Daywin didn't come till maybe, I think it was 5 years after she started it in 1981. She realized that she needed her own product. So, selling somebody else's product, you buy it at a certain price, sell it at a certain price.
Yeah.
But the profit margin, really, a lot of that belongs to the original producer of the music. And of course, the retail store, once they sell it, they get a pretty big chunk. So she realized she needed her own thing, and she started Daywin Soundtracks with Ronnie Drake. So Ronnie Drake comes back into the picture at that point, about 5 years later, and the two of them start Daywin. And it was a track company, and Ronnie would go in and produce the music that Dottie would pick based on suggestions from her retail stores. And then she would sell that product once it was manufactured. And it built Daywin Soundtracks, which is now 6,000 titles strong, a great resource for the smaller church. Most churches in America are under 200 in size, about 80%, and then 70% are under 100 in size. So they don't have the worship teams and the resources, the choirs that they need to make a great music. So we make it for them. And 6,000 of the greatest songs from the last 35 years reside in the Daywin Soundtrack catalog, and it's a wonderful business that she created at that point. And Daywin Records followed shortly after that, with the Cumberland Boys first, the resident group of Opryland theme park that Ronnie Drake had a relationship with and brought them on board, recorded albums for them. We had a great relationship with them for a very long time. And then I come in and around 93, when she wanted to expand that, she had hired already a couple of people to work on that, and a radio promoter, and we were, I wouldn't say we were off and running, because it was a struggle. It was hard to break in. There were some dominant players, and it's a different makeup of the industry at that point. All good, but just it was hard to break in. So
yeah, I'm sure. Ed, I wanted to say this about those soundtracks. Those tracks made it possible for a whole lot of people to get an opportunity to sing. That without those tracks, just at their church, just at a local events, people that would not have had a way to have done it without those tracks. That's been a blessing to a lot of people through the years, hasn't it?
It has, and I hear from artists all the time, like, different members of groups like that are singing now professionally, in groups in Southern gospel music, and even outside of Southern gospel music. Contemporary Christian artists that I run into that say that they sang their first song in church to a Daywin track, and it's just a really encouraging thing for me to hear that. But also it really ministers to Dottie when she hears the impact, because you're sitting behind a desk, and she did all of her work by phone. There was no traveling to stores and things like that. The only time she would see them would be at like industry conventions and things like that. But she built that relationship on the phone, but you don't see the impact of the finished product reaching a consumer and then them being able to do what they do with it, unless you hear that feedback. So she loves that when she hears about it. It's kind of like Rodney Griffin's song Faces.
Yes.
You never know the people that you impact, and really that direct impact is the performer to the audience, but the indirect impact are the people behind the scenes who are providing them with the tools that they need to do what they do. So,
well, it's a fascinating story. It is on my bucket list and a dream of mine to one day get to meet Miss Dottie Leonard Miller. I hope I get to do that one day, Ed.
Well, I hope you do too, because she paved the way, and I don't mean to make this a man-woman thing, but the industry is very male-dominated. From the people who used to work at labels, those, especially back in the day, it was very male-dominated, and the artists, obviously starting with quartets, there weren't a lot of females involved. But from a business perspective, she has really paved the way for a lot of people like yourself, to do what you do. And she loves that. I mean, when she sees women shining in this business, she absolutely loves it. And so I know she'll be as honored to meet you as you would be to meet her, because that means a lot to her.
Well, she is certainly a hero, and she has shown us that no dream is too small or too big if God is in it. And you put a little work into it, because she sure has. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back with Mr. Ed Leonard. We're going to find out a little bit more about Daywin. Don't go anywhere.
I dreamed my life was done, and I stood before God's Son. It was time to see what my reward would be. With love he reviewed my life, to count what was done for Christ. For that was what would last eternally. See, I'd done my best to share that Jesus really cares, and he would save if they would just believe. Oh, but seldom did harvest come, so few did I see one, until the Lord said, turn around and see. Then he showed me the faces of the ones who'd come because of me. So many faces that my life had led to Calvary. All those years I thought nobody saw, as I labored in lowly places. That's when Jesus smiled and showed me all the faces. He said, though you did not see the yield, you were faithful to plow the field. At other times, you helped me plant the seed. No matter how small the task, you did just as I asked. And thanks to you, these souls have been set free. Then he showed me the face
We're back with our distinguished and most honored guest, the president of Day One Records, Mr. Ed Leonard. We mentioned earlier that Mr. Leonard is the president of Day One Records and the vice president of New Day Christian Distribution, but he currently serves as the president and chairman of Christian Music Trade Association. He is an executive committee member of the Gospel Music Association, and in the past, he served as president of Church Music Publisher Association, vice chairman of Christian Booksellers Association. He's also served on the board of CMPA Action Fund, CCLI, and the Southern Gospel Music Guild. Hey, this list goes on and on and on. If we really covered everything that Ed Leonard is a part of, what he has done, what he is doing now, it would really take the whole morning show, period. So there's no way to cover it all. Just a little bit there of some of the credentials of Ed Leonard. Never could really give him enough credit. But Mr. Leonard, let's spend a little bit of time talking about Day One. We've highlighted the artist and the music this week, but Day One is so much more than a record label. That's what a lot of people think when they hear Day One. They think a place where you go to make an album or a company that puts out records. But that's only one aspect of the company, right?
I kind of, when I get asked this question, and usually on tours that I give around the little campus that we have here, I call it the music business in microcosm. So we do kind of everything that you do in the music business, at whatever genre you work in. But because we are who we are, an independent family-owned business, it's not big. It's everything is just kind of works together to make it all come out in the end, if you will. So when we started the record label, we realized pretty quickly that we need, it's all about the song. So we needed to participate in the song creation process. And Wayne Hahn was working with us at the time, and we had a publishing imprint, but we didn't really have anybody to work the publishing, to sign writers, to help them create their best work, to get their music pitched to other people, not just Day One artists, but other artists. And that was the beginning of Day One Music Publishing. Before Wayne was a producer here, he helped start the publishing company along with Marty Funderburk, who played a great role and still writes for us today. And Wayne still writes for us today and produces a lot of our records, notably, Karen Peck and Lefevre Quartet and Tribute Quartet, and has done a lot of work with Joseph Habedank in the past. So he's still very involved. But after the publishing company, we realized, okay, well, we're recording music in a bunch of different studios all around town. Maybe we can fill up our own studio with the work that we're doing. So we started Day One Studios, and that has a large tracking room, and then the original studio is a smaller room for vocals and overdubs. But both of those facilities are wonderful, and Justin Krupp, who's been our engineer for years and years, started out as a kid and now is just a little older than that, but wonderfully well respected in what he does. And Anthony Johnson is an engineer with us, and Cody McAllister, and these guys are incredible at what they do. And so we can service our artists, we can service outside artists, we can service people who want to come and record to Day One soundtracks, which they can do very effectively and affordably. With Jaquita Lindsay, who was with 11th Hour for a while, and she runs the ARS side of things, where we can provide artists with services starting with recording and leasing, but way beyond that through distribution and merchandising and all sorts of things. But we have an incredible team here that supports all this. But after we did the studios, we realized, okay, well, because of inventory, we need to have a manufacturing company that does short run manufacturing, so we can keep our soundtracks in stock, and not because there were so many titles, and you can't really afford to order 500 of them at a time or 1,000 of them at a time, whatever the minimums are. So we've got manufacturing capabilities that can manufacture from 1 to 5,000 CDs, and we do that for a lot of not just our own needs, but we manufacture now for people like Curb music, Curb
Mhm.
Records and Word Music and Fair Trade, which is, Mercy Me and
Yeah.
Stacey Winans and all of that kind of stuff. So that side of our business has really grown. We just got involved in, I made a big investment in choral music. So
Yeah.
during the pandemic, when choirs were couldn't sing, and a lot of companies that did choral music, provided choral resources, when they shut down, we jumped into the gap and hired a guy by the name of Jonathan Crumpton, who has a lot of experience, especially with Brentwood Benson and other choral entities, and he is running that effort for us, along with a guy by the name of Marvin Popus, who does our sales. And so we have now had direct relationships with the church, which is fantastic. First time we've ever really had that. But we find these areas to go into, and Dottie just, if the idea is right, she just relies on God to make it all work out. And I can't emphasize that enough. She is very much, this is not me, this is God doing this through me. He took a high school graduate and gave her the gift of gab and the gift of discernment and the resources and the ability to hire the right people and to look for the right creators to work with. And it's been wonderful.
Well, Ed, we have focused on the past an awful lot today. What's something new going on at Daywin that you are proud of?
One thing we've done recently, we started a bluegrass label about 5 years ago. And what's amazing about that is we didn't start it out to necessarily be a Christian entity, but the artists that we have attracted to the label, it's called Billy Blue Records, they're all Christians.
Yeah.
And
We're
so
very familiar with it. We play bluegrass here on the morning show. We
we're
love it. We
Isn't
just
it
had
right?
Joe Mullins as our featured artist.
But isn't that incredible now that those artists have a voice into this genre
Yeah, and they
that they
should.
didn't really have before? You know, Joe Mullins, Authentic Unlimited,
Yeah.
Appalachian Roadshow. We just signed Chosen Road, who's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. We've had them on the show. We
Darren,
featured them. Yeah.
yeah, Darren and Brooke Aldridge just did that. If you haven't heard have you heard the song they just put out called Jordan?
We play it all the time. Yeah,
Oh
we
my
love it.
goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. So that's been a blessing to us. And it's funny, you know, we step out and to do this kind of different thing with Jerry Salley, who's just a wonderful gospel writer and country and bluegrass. And we just have the right people in the right places there. You know, Jerry on the bluegrass side, Rick Shelton, who's done an incredible job with our publishing company. And of course, you know, on the record side, I've kind of talked around that to just give you kind of the picture of everything that we do. But when you go to the record side and you've got Dusty Wells, I mean, he's absolutely incredible, as you heard yesterday. And what a heart for artists, for music. And he didn't become that way when he started with us. He has been that way his whole career. When he was at Word, he would still go to Southern gospel concerts and encourage these artists and make them feel a part of a bigger Christian music family. When he was there, and of course Kyle Johnson, who does our marketing, and Carla Webby, who does our all of our production work and graphics, and my son Eddie and my sons Eddie and Evan, who do a lot of work on social media for us and YouTube, and you know these new ways of consuming music. It's just been an incredible experience to work with people who have a passion for gospel music, Southern gospel music in particular. Norman Holland being here for so many years, I learned so much from him, and I miss him terribly. And Scott Godsey, you know, took over after Norman for A&R, and you know we've had some just great A&R people throughout the years, and worked with great producers, and it's just honestly it's a blessing.
Yeah. Well, you sure have been blessed with some of the best ones. You mentioned Jerry Salley. That's another one on my list of people I would like to meet one day. I've never met Jerry Salley or spoken to him. So we'd like to have him on our show sometime if you could kind of hook us up with Jerry Salley.
Absolutely. Well, maybe you can do a little bluegrass focus, and between him and the great work they do over at Crossroads with Mountain Home Music. Yeah. You know, you've got two great Southern gospel entities that are working in the bluegrass entity, and you know we're you know Mountain Home is kind of the top dogs over in that world, but we're creating kind of a boutique label. We're not trying to be Mountain Home, but they have done a fantastic job over there, encouraging. And that for people who don't know, that's Sunlight and Horizon, that record label. Yeah, their sister label is Mountain Home on the bluegrass side. So.
He was just a country preacher pronouncing benediction. His message had been simple, a child could understand. He looked out from the pulpit, he closed his tattered Bible, said, bow your heads, close your eyes, and take your neighbor's hand. And now go spread the gospel. Use as few words as possible. They'd rather see a sermon than to hear one any day. Let your life be a beacon. Let your light shine for Jesus. Go spread the gospel as we leave this place. Said when you get down to it, it's not that complicated. We're all his disciples, like Peter, James, and Paul. No, we're not great physicians, and we can't feed the masses, but we can tell the world about the man who did it all. And now go spread the gospel. Use as few words as possible. They'd rather see a sermon than to hear one any day. We can all be a witness to his grace and forgiveness. Go spread the gospel as we leave this place. Go tell the greatest story of the cross and all the glory of the risen Savior and an empty grave. And now go spread the gospel. Use as few words as possible. They'd rather see a sermon than to hear one any day. Let your life be a beacon. Let your light shine for Jesus. Go spread the gospel as we leave this place.
Well, this has been an honor. We have learned so much about Day Win that we didn't know. Another character over there at Day Win that we sure do love is Nick Bruno. And you mentioned Marty Thunderbird. We've had Marty on our show. He's done an interview. We've had Nick Bruno on our show. We love him. And I hear him on his Facebook page all the time saying that people can come and make records right there at Day Win. He'll produce it for them. He'll take care of them. Is that legit? Can people come to Day Win and make a recording?
100%. As I mentioned earlier, Jaquita Lindsay runs the Artist Resource Services division, which includes recording and leasing. People can come and do projects. We are blessed with two incredible producers that do most of our work. Marty Thunderbird, who has produced all of the soundtrack sessions for years and years and years with artists who come in and record. And then recently Nick Bruno came and joined us. He has an office over here. What a pleasure it is to work with somebody with that kind of experience. Mm-hmm. And so he is bringing in people through his relationships. Jaquita, brings people in, and Marty produces a lot of that. Nick kind of does the if they do full band things, he does that, whereas Marty does the leasing of tracks and the producing of records where they're singing to those tracks that are already recorded. But Nick is here, a lot of full band sessions he's been bringing in, and man, what a character he is. I mean, you put it right. When you say character, I think Nick Bruno.
We love that Nick Bruno. Well, look, we are in awe of all of it. I've said it many times on this show, and it is our opinion that Day Win is the elite in all of Christian music. We stand by that. We believe it, and we appreciate all that you do to make the music. We love it. You make it the best it can be. And we're going to keep playing it here on the morning show. Ed Leonard, you have a friend here on the morning show. I hope you won't forget that.
Thank you, Natalie. It's been great to meet your son and your husband. We met at the Southbound release party just a little while ago. And I tell you what, from what I've heard so far of your program here, not only are you excellent at what you do professionally, but you have raised one heck of a son. He's respectful. He is appreciative. He is attentive in a way that's way beyond his years. And so I wish him all the best. And I applaud you for being you and your husband for being such amazing parents, because it doesn't just happen. As you and I know, I've got 9 kids. It doesn't just happen that they turn out into the people that they are. They have to be raised by great parents who put God first and who instill that into their lives at an early age. So I appreciate what you do.
Thank you so much for saying that. Tate is a huge fan of Day Win. He got to come visit not too long ago, got to come to the studio meet everybody. And that was the highlight of his year, he said.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. He's welcome anytime, as
Well,
are you.
Day One Celebration Week may be coming to an end, but our love for the music and the company is just getting started. Thanks again, Ed. We appreciate your time so much.
Thanks for all you do.
All right. We'll
Bless
do it
you.
again sometime. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Come on, come on, come on.
Come on in this house.
Oh, well, why don't you come on in this house? Well, why don't you come on in this house? Yeah, why don't you come on in this house? Come on in this house of the Lord.
You know we're seeking soul salvation.
Come on in this house.
Well, we're seeking soul salvation.
Come on in this house, yeah.
Seeking soul salvation.
Come on in this house. Come on in this house of the Lord. Now Jesus said to Peter, on this rock I'll build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against the rock that availeth much. In every city I'll build a church, on the solid rock it'll stand, and I'll say, shelter. Listen children, go and come again. You got a standing invitation to my Father's house. Oh, standing invitation to my Father's house. Yeah, standing invitation to my Father's house. Come on in this house of the Lord. Come and go with me to my Father's house, to my Father's house. Come and go with me to my Father's house, to my Father's house. There's peace and joy and love. There's victory from above. Come and go with me to my Father's house, to my Father's house.
Why don't you
Come on in this house.
and why don't you?
Come on in this house, yeah.
Why don't you?
Come on in this house. Come on in this house of the Lord. Good time. Good time. We're gonna have a time. We're gonna have a good time. Good time. We're gonna have a time. Come on, clap your hands. Good time. We're gonna have a time. Somebody take a stand and testify. In a bow you'll see. You know there's healing in this house. Salvation in this house. There's happiness in this house. You will be blessed in this house. Come on in this house of the Lord. House of the Lord. House of the Lord. You'll find peace in the house of the Lord. You'll find joy